My therapist told me to buy a giraffe. So I said what any rational person would say, I don't think I can afford one. We were talking about golf and how at times I can get such a singular focus, almost like a tunnel vision during the round, and I'm overcome with this sense of urgency to perform, and I kind of lose sight of the fact that it's just golf at the end of the day, and it just feeds this negative cycle of thoughts in my mind that starts with urgency and ends with urgency. My bad shots seem worse and my good shots seem fleeting, and it's really hard to play a tournament when everything feels like it's going off the rails. And to be fair, golf is my singular focus right now. As an average guy pursuing this dream of going pro, it's kind of the main thing I'm focused on. This journey, by the way, is just starting to get really good. We've broken 70 for the first time. So if you aren't and you want to join the gallery, at the end of the video, hit that subscribe button. It's completely free. So if you are a golfer, then I know you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this tunnel vision. But I think this loss of perspective applies to pretty much everyone. Even if you're not a golfer or even an athlete, I think at times we get caught up in a sense of this is more important than it is. Maybe someone gets our order wrong or something doesn't go your way at work. Whatever it is, sometimes in the moment we can't step back and see it from a 1,000-foot view. We can't step out of our own point of view. And that's what creates this sense of urgency. That's what creates this tunnel vision, not being able to see it for what it really is. We're blinded by our own lens of whatever emotion or whatever baggage we're carrying into that situation. So my therapist told me to think of the most absurd thing that I could possibly think of. Something that makes me laugh every single time that I think of it. And the first thing that popped into my head was a giraffe. Because, well, I mean, look at it. What even is this animal? It's got the back legs of a hyena, the neck of a dinosaur, the essence of a horse, the spots of a leopard, and it has horns? So his suggestion was that every time I experience this tunnel vision, this loss of perspective, to think of a giraffe, to be confronted with the reality that is the absurdity of a giraffe, to try to take me out of that moment by looking at something or thinking of something ridiculous. Now, the hard part is when you're in that moment, if you can't see another perspective, then it's probably going to be pretty difficult to ask yourself to think of a giraffe. You're already in the tunnel. So we needed some sort of visual cue for me to break this cycle, to step in and snap me out of it, essentially. Because what we're talking about here is automatic self-talk or automatic negative thoughts. And basically, if you're unfamiliar with that, these are our thoughts that pop into our heads, usually around something we care very much about. And they're negative in nature. You can't do that, you shouldn't do that, you aren't good enough, stuff like that. It's probably something you've told yourself before. Automatic thoughts aren't necessarily under our control. They are built out of habit, they're built out of what we learned growing up, going through life. They are messages, whether direct or implicit, that we have somehow, for some reason, internalized. So we need to put the control back on our side when it comes to automatic negative thoughts. Having these thoughts isn't bad. Everybody has them. I'm going to continue to have them, just like you are. But if we can break the cycle and stop it when that thought comes in and say, hey, you know what? I don't really want to think about that right now. I'd like my thoughts to be under my control. That's where we need to intervene before the cycle goes 10 dominoes down. In order to do that on the golf course, we decided that I needed a visual cue. That's where the giraffe comes in. Being that my apartment has a weight limit for pets and giraffes are notoriously difficult to feed, we settled on a giraffe head cover for my visual cue. I'd like to introduce Rafa the giraffe, the head cover that will be accompanying me on my tournaments from now on. This giraffe head cover is that visual cue. It's the thing that says, hey, snap out of it. It's not that big a deal. It's just golf. Regardless of whether I shoot a 65 or a 95, giraffes go on existing, the world goes on turning, and I'm still free to laugh at that. to find humor in the ridiculous existence of such an odd, truly odd creature that I, for some reason, find hilarious. This is something that I would encourage you to try out for yourself. Maybe it's not a giraffe for you. Maybe it's not golf. But, like I said, we've all been there. And the point of this channel is to inspire others to share my journey, because my journey is ultimately yours too. It's one we can all relate to. All of these things I'm experiencing on this road are things that you experience on whatever your road is. So at some point you're going to run into some automatic negative self-talk, some automatic negative self-belief. And I would encourage you, find a visual cue. Find something to break that cycle before it starts. And find peace in the absurd. Just knowing that giraffes, whatever your giraffe is, just knowing that it exists, laughing and thinking, the stakes aren't really that high, truly, when it comes down to it. At the end of the day, we live on a spinning rock, hurtling through space at a zillion miles an hour, and giraffes are a thing that exist.